Fun day to be covering fantasy football. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Fantasy Football Today. We're all here. Adam, Dave, Jamie, Heath. Some of the headlines: Travis Etienne to the Saints, Ken Walker to the Chiefs, Malik Willis to the Dolphins, Mike Evans to the Niners, Isaiah Likely to the Giants. And there will be more, and we will be on the air every day this week, at least, until the news slows down. Whew. Dave, I got to catch my breath. What a day this has been.
It's busy and there's more to come. It's exciting. And this is part of the reason why everybody should pay attention to fantasy football year round, to start thinking about the players, where they're going, the fits, the positives, the negatives, and you start thinking about what it means for their draft value. Who's an RB2 or maybe even an RB1, who's a wide receiver 3, who could be a wide receiver 2. This is where you think this out. You don't want to wait until the day before your draft to think about it. You'll be behind everybody else in your league. So I'm glad that we're here, and I'm glad that everybody's here watching with us.
Jamie, what's going on? We missed you on the Ken Walker breaking news. Anyway, how you feeling about today's events?
It's exciting. I think you got some good landing spots. Obviously, Ken Walker to the Chiefs is good. Isaiah Likely to the Giants, I think, is a good spot. Hopefully Travis Etienne to the Saints will be good if they make a second move. I like the fact that Alec Pierce got his deal, and they also traded Michael Pittman. I think that's encouraging as well. So there's a lot of things that worked out well today. Yeah,
it's kind of like what we were saying, Heath, about the Bears-Bills trade. It was good for everyone, basically. It's been, I think, a pretty positive day so far, right?
Yes, a positive day that seems to impact the RB2, wide receiver 2 landscape and RB3 and wide receiver 3 landscape more than it does the top of the rankings.
Okay, so here are some fun facts. So Kellen Moore just signed Travis Etienne. Kellen Moore's been an offensive coordinator or a head coach for 7 seasons. In 6 of those seasons, his top running back, has finished no worse than 20th per game. The only exception was last year with the Saints. 3 times, Kellen Moore's had a top 10 running back per game in PPR. Twice he's had a top 5 running back, Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon Barkley. Fun fact from the bonus podcast we did earlier today, the Chiefs have gone 8 straight seasons without a running back eclipsing 205 carries. We're going to take the over for Ken Walker. Here's a fun fact. The new Raiders wide receiver, Jalen Naylor, has 1,066 yards and 11 touchdowns in 4 seasons. And now he has $23 million guaranteed. What? That was the one. I think, Heath, that was the signing that knocked my socks right off.
It blew my mind, but the Alec Pierce contract kind of blows my mind too. I just think we see with the wide receiver market is insanity. And yes, the Naylor, I think Naylor's a pretty good player. But it just seems weird, which I guess if you were somebody that hadn't been in the fantasy football or football world for the last 3 months, you could probably look at Malik Willis' career stats and contract and make the same observation that you did about Naylor. It's a guy that's made 6 starts and never thrown more than 23 passes in a game, and he just got $45 million guaranteed.
Yeah, but did you know that he's averaged 10.9 yards per attempt on his 89 pass attempts with Green Bay, which is by far the best mark in the NFL. That's another fun fact. And here's my last one. We'll get to winners and losers. There have been 40 tight ends with 100 targets or more over the last 3 seasons. Of those 40 tight ends, Isaiah Likely ranks 3rd in yards per target, 3rd in yards per catch, 6th in explosive play rate, and he is on the New York Giants. Huzzah! Okay, biggest winner. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to defend Jalen Naylor because I think you can do the same thing with his stats that you did with Malik Willis's.
Yeah.
He's averaging 15 yards per catch and scored once every 10 targets in the NFL.
I mean, I couldn't believe that signing, but hey, maybe they're on to something. Or not good for Jack Besh. Anywho, biggest winners, biggest losers. Jamie, give me a winner.
Cam Scatterbo.
That's where we're going. We're going Cam Scatterbo. Okay. The Giants were apparently in on Ken Walker, so they may still upgrade a running back. But yeah, that's one. They
just signed a linebacker, and several teams around them that might have taken Jeremiah Love are no longer going to. So We'll see.
We're just talking about today. Could change. Could change in 6 weeks, but for today, Cam Scadaboo is a winner.
All right, Dave, who's a winner?
I'll go along those same lines and say Bashal Tootin is a winner.
Heath, who's a winner?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go with kind of like both of them. Emeka Egbuka's a winner.
Is Mike Evans a winner? This one's pretty cool. I mean, you got Hall of Fame wide receiver deciding to go to San Francisco. Wasn't a money thing, according to his agent. He just wanted a new challenge in his life. Goes to the Niners, who obviously need pass catchers. We don't know what the rest of their receiving core is going to look like here, but this is pretty cool. Heath, is Mike Evans a winner?
I think any time that a 33-year-old wide receiver who missed half of last year goes to a team that can't keep anyone healthy and exists next to some sort of substation that causes injuries, we should be really excited. I agree with you. It's cool. I'm hopeful for him. I think it's good for Brock Purdy. I'm probably not going to have him ranked very high.
Who do you guys like better? Chris Godwin, who I think is an underrated winner here.
Yes.
Coming on, look, last year was really bad. He was coming off a serious injury. He's shown that in the past, that sometimes just be patient with him, get him in the right role, put him in the slot. Chris Godwin or Mike Evans, Jamie?
They'll probably be close. I'm going to go Evans slightly over Godwin, but they're close.
Dave?
Same. Evans over Godwin, but neither one of them are top 24 receivers.
Agreed.
All right, what's the beef with Evans here? It's just his age?
Look at him. He's old. He's so old.
And when he was healthy last year, he wasn't quite Mike Evans. He had one game all year with more than 60 yards.
It's true.
His yards, every efficiency metric was a career low.
Yeah, he'll be 33 years old in August, Mike Evans. Now, he had 2 injuries last year. One of them was a soft tissue injury. It was a hamstring injury in week 3. The other one was a broken collarbone. I don't know that it's one of those, he's so old, even his collarbone is breaking like a hip. But
I think that the positive would be is that Ricky Pearsall can't stay healthy and George Kittle's coming off an Achilles tear.
Mm-hmm.
And if Pearsall, for whatever reason, can't start the season and Mike Evans is going to be force-fed targets, then you got to love the situation. But how long will that be sustainable? Because Kittle will come back at some point. Pearsall will play at some point. McCaffrey obviously is still going strong right now. But they're going all in with a very old roster right now.
You could very easily see Mike Evans get off to a super start where he's a top 12 receiver to begin the year, and then injuries or somebody else stepping up in San Francisco starts to knock him down a couple of pegs. But as far as like landing spots go, like being in this type of offense where precise route running is important and being a big guy, like this is who's replacing Juwan Jennings. Like I love that part of it for Mike Evans. I'm just worried about how effective he'll be. I think Heath talked about it, and we all know that he's, got a bunch of injuries in his past. That's the soft tissue ones that worry me the most.
I also feel like there's probably another shoe to drop at wide receiver for the 49ers. They still need a guy or two, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of guy that is, because Pearsall's been the downfield guy, the high A-dot guy in San Francisco, which, as we know, is what Evans does. So it'd be interesting to see if they go get a lower A-dot guy or if they're going to use Pearsall in a different way.
Okay, and I just want to give you guys a list of wide receivers who averaged at least 13 PPR fantasy points per game at age 33 or older. No, just at age 33. Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown was coming off a season where he played 7 games. He was wide receiver 39 in average draft position in his age 33 year, and he was awesome. Now, he only played 7 games that year. He was coming off an 8-game season, just like Mike Evans. He only played 7 games, but he was awesome in those 7 games. Terrell Owens had a monster year with 13 touchdowns at age 33. Marvin Harrison was awesome at age 33 and age 34. By the way, Owens was also great at 34 and solid at age 35. Chris Carter was really good for ages 33, 34, and 35. Julian Edelman had his last good season at age 33. Jimmy Smith averaged 13 or more PPR fantasy points per game at ages 33, 34, and 35, and 36. Steve Smith was good at 33, bad at 34, bounced back with a really good year at 35, and then was amazing. Steve Smith averaged 18.7 points per game at age 36, but he only played 7 games. Of course, Jerry Rice was amazing at age 33 as well. Reggie Wayne was terrible at age 33 and then great at age 34. I want to just point out, great receivers can be good at age 33. They can be great at age 33. So that's just a little hope for you for Mike Evans and beyond, by the way, even after 33. All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to go through the you guys tell me if I'm missing anything here, but the big headlines from today and just get your
Got another one.
What did we get?
Tua to the Falcons.
Okay, we'll throw that one in there too. And Loa to Atlanta. Gonna type it in there. Gotta get Wandale. Haven't talked about him yet. Okay, so let's give it a little bit of a grade for that specific player. Okay, and no, you know what? Tell me what round you're taking that specific player. Let's do that.
Okay.
Travis Etienne to the Saints. What round?
Round 4 right now.
And like early round 4.
That will change maybe by 2 rounds if Kamara is released.
And by the way, we're talking 12-team PPR here. Ken Walker to the Chiefs.
2.
3.
This is round. This is not excitement-o-meter. This is what round.
Well, it could be excitement-o-meter on a scale of 1 to 4. But that's not what you asked.
Kamara were released, who were you taking first? Etienne or Walker?
Walker.
Yeah.
Okay. Malik Willis to Miami. Does he get drafted in a 12-team, 1-quarterback league?
Yes.
100%.
He should.
Okay. Jalen Waddle, give me a round.
6.
I was going to say 5. I'd be a little more optimistic.
It's a tough one, huh?
It is a tough one.
You like Waddle or Evans?
Waddle.
Jalen Waddle.
Waddle or Abuka?
Emeka Ibuka.
Okay, how about Tua Tagovailoa to the Falcons?
No, I would not draft Tua Tagovailoa.
What round for Drake London, or any change for Drake London? He was an early round 2 pick in our drafts.
Yeah, that's
I think this is a win for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for Pitts, they get Austin Hooper. Heath, did that kill your buzz at all with Kyle Pitts?
Did not kill my buzz. I think we've got London at the 1-2 turn, and I'm the wrong person to ask about Pitts because my answer is going to be a round earlier than whatever Dave and Jamie establish.
1.
Oh.
Okay. Where are we here? Isaiah Likely to the Giants. Is he going to be a top 12 tight end?
100%.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Isaiah. Okay. Is he top 10 tight end?
Yes.
Yes.
He'll get drafted that way, but like maybe right at 10.
Has Adam's face frozen for anybody else?
Me too. Yeah, I didn't know if it was my connection or his.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. He's frozen.
Good.
Can you hear me at least?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's been going on for at least the last 5 minutes.
This is some weird stuff, dude. What's going on over there?
I don't really know what to do about this. All right. I'm going to turn my camera off and see if that helps. You guys talk about Isaiah Likely and your expectations. Actually, why don't we take a quick break? We'll take a break and come back and talk about Isaiah Likely going to the New York Giants. Daniel Bellinger, by the way, one of their tight ends, going to the Tennessee Titans. We'll be right back.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Oh, good. We don't have a host. Adam has left our live stream.
Yeah.
And it's left us to talk about Isaiah Likely. I looked into Likely for the site. I don't mind sharing what I discovered and how I feel about him, and then you guys can disagree with me. Obviously, I love his potential in New York. He could be the number 2 target getter there. The thing that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit is John Harbaugh had this guy on his team for 4 years in Baltimore, and he rarely had huge games. We all remember the huge game he had in 2024 to start the season. It was double-digit targets, 9 catches, over 100 yards. He scored, and then he stunk the 3 games after, and he never really he did nothing more than like flash a couple of times. So what's to lead us to believe that Isaiah Likely will get a slew of targets now with the Giants when John Harbaugh didn't let him have that type of work for 4 years in Baltimore?
Theo Johnson is not Mark Andrews.
He's not. That's true. But Malik Neighbors is not Zay Flowers.
I don't think we know what this Giants offense is going to look like. I mean, we haven't seen Dart with neighbors. We don't know what the draft is going to bring because Cardinal Tate could easily be their
Very
choice
true.
in the first round or another receiver at some point in the draft. That's a prominence. They're losing Wan'Dale Robinson, which is a big, target and favorite weapon for Jackson Dart. So that's another guy they have to replace. And so I think just in the grand scheme of things of what you're looking at, the fact that you're right, Dave, Harbaugh obviously was the head coach of this, what we assume to be as a very talented player. And we've seen flashes of him with that talent and with that potential, not necessarily allowing that to flourish. To Heath's point, Mark Andrews is a pretty talented guy himself. I think just the fact that this is where he went, he followed his head coach. His head coach, obviously, I'm sure, advocated for him to be there. There was a need, essentially, because Theo Johnson's a good player, but this is a most likely, no pun intended, better player. So the hope would be is that he gets this opportunity, gets this role, gets with this new quarterback, and everything sort of falls in line. So I think as long as no first-round wide receiver is drafted, and there is the chance for him to be second on the team in targets, you should gravitate toward him as a low-end number one tight end. Like when Adam was asking the question, the first name that came to mind is obviously another guy that's in the news today is Travis Kelce, who finished 9th in points per game in PPR last season, 3rd in total points at tight end, can likely be better than basically 12 PPR points per game, be in that range of 11 to 12 PPR points per game. I think he can. So I would rather take Isaiah Likely than Travis Kelce right now.
Agreed.
You guys got me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
You're still frozen though. You look like Scooby-Doo.
I do not. I'm not frozen.
No, you're not.
You jerk. Isaiah Likely played weeks 12 through 18 in 2023 without Mark Andrews. He averaged 13.9 PPR fantasy points in those games. And then he played the divisional round without Mark Andrews in the playoffs. And he had a touchdown on 3 targets, 2 catches, 34 yards, and a touchdown. So that was 11.4 fantasy points. So that's pretty good. That was with Lamar Jackson in all but one of those games. And then we have we have Mike Evans. Mike Evans, give me a round. I froze again, didn't I? What's going on?
No, you're moving now.
All right, whatever. It is what it is. Mike Evans, what'd you say? Round 6? Something like that?
7?
6.
I'd say 6.
Wan'Dale Robinson to the Titans.
Same.
Love the fact that he followed Dable, so that's encouraging. Love the fact that the receiving core is basically non-existent for the most part. There's no real, significant threat for targets to keep him off the field as of now. But which version of Wan'Dale Robinson are we going to get? The guy that when he's gotten opportunities to be sort of the lead guy has taken advantage of it and done great? Or is he going to sort of, take some time to get his footing and be more of, I think, what probably the perception of him is. So I would rather have Evans, but not far behind. Robinson will be not far behind.
I'd rather have Robinson. I'm encouraged by what we saw from him last year when he had an opportunity to play. I think we have to call him a wide receiver 1 for his team because of the target share that he had. It was huge. And I don't think Calvin Ridley's going to be a big factor there. I don't think any of the rookie, now second-year players in that passing game are going to be there. And I don't know if Tennessee's going to necessarily make a splash at wide receiver. Obviously, if they do, that'll knock down my excitement for Robinson as well. But short area to downfield target, he can do both of those things. He proved that last year. That was the difference between Wan'Dale in 2025 and Wan'Dale in 2024. He didn't really get those chances, didn't have nearly as many end zone chances, had a lot of drops in 2024 as well. He fixed that in 2025. And Cam Ward, we saw it toward the end of the year. He made some progress as a quarterback. He's really good at keeping plays alive. Robinson is really good at finding ways to get open when things break down. And there were a couple plays that benefited him with Jackson Dart and the Giants last year. I'm encouraged by Wan'Dale in full PPR. I think he could end up being drafted outside of the top 24 and finish well inside the top 24 on a per game basis, assuming that this is how the Titans offense looks. And don't forget, Titans defense, I know they added some players. I don't expect it to be that much better. So there's going to be a lot of high volume passing days ahead for Cam Ward and the Titans. I like the improved offense and the scheme. And Robinson obviously knows it because Brian Daboll was his coach the last couple of years, if not the last 4 years, pretty much the last 4 years. So I'm in on Robinson, and I do like him better than Evans.
I agree.
No.
Go ahead.
He's always hated Wan'Dale Robinson.
I mean, come on. He's Wan'Dale Robinson. He's that, like, He had 140 targets turned into 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. Wan'Dale Robinson has 9 touchdowns in his career. He has 9 touchdowns in his career. Mike Evans
That's why I'm not loving him in non-PPR.
To fall into 9 touchdowns if he stays healthy. Mike Evans is a far superior player. Wan'Dale Robinson is limited. You said that he showed that he can be a downfield guy. I mean, they finally used him. It was not like he was so great with the downfield targets. It's not like he's going up making contested catches. He's 5'9". So it's like that. Remember that 39? He had a 39-yard touchdown catch on a flea flicker against the Lions from Jameis Winston. Right. So he had a play where he was wide open for, I think, 34 yards against the pathetic Cowboys with Russell Wilson in week 2. When he made big plays, he was usually wide open downfield. I went back, I watched all of the deep balls to him. And I'm not
it's such
saying
a terrible thing for a wide receiver to be wide open downfield.
I'm just saying he's not a playmaker. He's not ripping the ball away from defensive backs. He doesn't do a lot with Yak, which is surprising because his ADOT has been so low. Last year it was just low, not so low.
Right.
He
years ago was so low.
He just needs targets. And he got 140 targets 2 years. He was last in yards per target 2 years in a row. He's just like,
he's not getting 140 targets with the Titans.
Right. Yeah, he needs it. So
I get 130.
I think I would not be surprised if he got to 140 with the Titans.
All right, my last point on Wan'Dale. He had 140 targets with the Giants, and he averaged 13.6 PPR fantasy points per game. That made him wide receiver 17 last year. In the 5 years before that, it would have made him wide receiver 32, 30, 22, 24, and 31. If his ceiling seems to be like wide receiver 22, I basically feel like he's Christian Kirk. I'm going to take Mike Evans over Christian Kirk. Yeah, he might be better than Evans, but he does not have any league-winning potential, in my opinion. What? Yeah.
No, there's nothing. I mean, you could have just replayed what you said like 6 months ago about Wan'Dale Robinson.
I don't even know what I said, but I must have said it.
It was very, very similar in the middle of the season.
And then what happened after that, Heath?
Oh, Wan'Dale Robinson was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he was not. By the way, I went.
I know what he did without Neighbors last year, like a true sample.
The whole year was without Neighbors.
He was 14.2 PPR points per game. That's pretty good.
That is good. Yes. Out of nowhere, 4th-year breakouts in the last 15 seasons. I do think Christian Kirk would qualify. Michael Crabtree would qualify. He went on and had some solid years. Brian Hartline, Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb, believe it or not, never really was that good after his 4th-year breakout. The best of the best was Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson did almost nothing for 3 years. And then in his 4th year, he was 68 catches, 1,263 yards, 15 touchdowns on 96 targets. And then he was just the man after that. But for the most part, these 4th-year breakouts, like they're not, and think about it for Alec Pierce too, guys. They're not, usually able to replicate, and they're not able to.
I don't think anybody's arguing that Wan'Dale Robinson is about to become a top 12 wide receiver. I wouldn't even argue he's about to become a top 18 wide receiver.
Put it in Alec Pierce's perspective, then. I would call Pierce.
I don't think he is either.
Pierce let's talk about this situation here with the Colts signing Pierce.
How do you keep freezing in the same spot?
It's just my face, I guess. The Pierce signing with the Colts, 4 years, $116 million. They put the transition tag on Daniel Jones, so he'll probably be their quarterback. And then they traded Michael Pittman to the Steelers, who gave him a 3-year, $59 million deal. Is Pittman the biggest loser today?
Yeah, it's pretty bad, especially not knowing who the Steelers quarterback is going to be. You can make a case maybe Bucky Irving's a bigger loser, but I think just in the case of Pittman, like he was bad last year. He was, slightly better in 2024, but bad each of the last 2 seasons. And now he goes to where he's most likely the second best receiver on his team. That's not exactly the most encouraging situation. I do think Mike McCarthy being there will help the passing attack across the board, no matter who the quarterback is. It seems like it's going to be Aaron Rodgers once again, but we'll see. But in the case of Pittman, like you're talking about double-digit round guy at this point. Like there's just not a lot to love about the situation for him. He could still emerge as a number 3 fantasy receiver, but when you're looking at Evans and Robinson and Pierce, and I take him over Jalen Naylor, but the guys who have signed so far, this is or changed teams so far at least. This is a pretty bad situation for Michael Pittman's fantasy value. So I think in the case of Pierce, it's encouraging that they give him this mega deal, 4 years, $114 million, break the bank. And then they decide immediately they were going to move on from Pittman or restructure his deal, but they immediately in the same day make the trade and get him off the team. So Pierce had 4 games last year with 7+ targets. In those 4 games, he scored at least 13 PPR points in all of them. 2 of them, he was over 24 PPR points. Pittman averaged 6.5 targets per game last year. Pierce was at 5.6. So you assume there's probably at least a 1 to 2 target per game bump with this move. The biggest thing, though, is Daniel Jones coming back in at 100%, and which version of Daniel Jones will we get? And is Alec Pierce going to take that big leap in targets? Because 85 targets last year in 15 games isn't going to, I think, make him sustainable as a consistent number 2 wide receiver. So to me, he's a borderline guy. I think that round 5 to 6 range is probably appropriate for him. Again, looking at the moves that they made today, big contract, trading Pittman, it speaks to, I think, him hopefully taking a big step forward in all of his, route running, expanding his tree and allowing him to get more opportunities. So, there's a big if, but to Adam's point, is he going to take that step forward of just being a deep threat? 2 years in a row, 21 point, whatever it was, yards per game, 21 yards per catch this year, 22 yards per catch last year. Like, can he do more? Will he be able to do more? I think the moves today speak to that.
So you had Evans over Wan'Dale, Jamie?
I have Evans slightly over Wan'Dale, yeah.
Where do you have Pierce in relation to both?
Pierce right now slightly over both.
Okay. Heath, Pierce, Robinson, Evans?
I think they're close enough to where I wouldn't argue that strong for any of them at this point. They're all low end number 3 wide receivers, and I'd had Pierce at the top, then Wan'Dale, then Evans. I think the biggest question I have with Pittman leaving is what percentage of those targets go to Pierce versus Downs. Like, I almost think that Pittman leaving, I don't like Downs as much as I like Pierce, but I think Pittman leaving might be a bigger boost for Downs than it is for Pierce. And we could finally see some of his talent.
You think there's anything there for Tyler Warren too?
Yeah. You can get a boost.
I think, look, it's a win for all of these guys because you're removing a guy that had 111 targets off the team and has been, essentially their alpha, since he's sort of emerged in year 2. It's just a matter of, I agree with you, Heath. I think this is one of those things, like, we're going to get a lot of training camp stories about Alec Pierce is doing this, Alec Pierce is doing that, but Josh Downs is making a lot of plays. There's always going to be a but attached to whatever Alec Pierce is doing, and it's going to be probably Downs, I'm sure a little bit of Warren, I'm sure whatever else they do to fill out their receiving core, because unless Pierce, in my opinion, gets like a 40 target boost, I don't know what you have him projected for, so he's got to go, I think, from 85 targets to about 125, at least in the 120 range, to be considered a number 2 receiver, because he's not going to average this yards per catch if he's getting more opportunities. Everything's going to change for him. But that's why I think they did this. It's to allow him to sort of take that next step and see what he can offer as that number 1 guy.
Okay. A pretty good rule of thumb is 7 targets per game. The guys who emerge from the round 6 or later range, pretty much anyone, they usually, the good ones average 7 targets per game, which is 119 targets per 17 games. Just to give a little love to Josh Downs, the guy just doesn't play that much, but his target per route run rate has been really good 2 straight years, at least good 3 straight years. And when he has actually run 80% or more of the routes, Josh Downs has been pretty productive. For those of you watching, I do have to apologize. I'm having issues with my camera, so you're just going to be hearing from me. But Downs is a guy that could certainly be a sneaky winner here, as we've talked about.
Can I give you a stat on Downs?
Yeah, go ahead. And then I want to talk about DK Metcalf real quick, and then I want to move on to the.
I'll be quick. 7.6 targets per game for him in 2024, and he averaged 13.1 PPR points per game. He is a low-key winner for sure.
Anybody considering moving Tyler Warren ahead of Loveland or Fannin?
Fannin.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Wow, Heath over Fannin.
Considering it. I think honestly, especially with like Kelsey back and likely in a seemingly good situation, I'm just moving more towards I'm probably not going to end up drafting as much of those rookies, because there's going to be guys 3 to 4 or 5 rounds later that I think have similar profiles.
Okay. Are there any other big losers that you guys want to talk about? Is Metcalf also a loser?
Maybe a little, but he was like, I think he's still a number 3 wide receiver like he was.
I think after it's such a bad season for Metcalf, and I actually think he was wide receiver 24 per game. Unbelievable. With 12.5 PPR fantasy points per game, which is really not that good. That's usually wide receiver 36 per game, and he was 24th last year.
Yeah.
And he had trouble with targets last year. He's on pace for 112 targets, and now he's got Michael Pittman with him.
I think McCarthy will be better. McCarthy will help this team. He'll help this passing attack. But you're still talking about a 42-year-old quarterback. You're talking about now significant competition for targets. It's just not ideal.
Does the pace of play change for Pittsburgh?
I would guess so.
More up tempo?
Slightly.
That would
like
help
McCarthy
Rodgers
ran a very
throw the
high-
ball a little bit more. Yeah, Rodgers can throw the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, but the thing is, Rodgers
that
loves
help?
to let the play clock run down. He's not going to change his approach with a coach who knows him, who had success with him. I mean, it's not like McCarthy's coming in and saying, Aaron, I know, hey, listen, you're going to do this. It's going to be a lot of the same things that they did at the end of their Green Bay tenure, for better or worse.
Okay, so then probably not a big pace of play change.
No, but I think just better overall because just better play caller.
Well, how about this? They got rid of the guy that had a ton of targets in that offense last year, and now Pittman's there. Bye-bye Kenny Gainwell. Hello, Michael Pittman. Maybe that opens up some more further downfield throws for the Steelers.
Well, they'll have a lot fewer tight end targets too with Arthur Smith not there and John Ugon.
There you go. Yeah, and Pittman's always he's kind of morphed into this role where he's more tight end than wide receiver anyway.
So is Bucky or Jamie? I think you kind of mentioned Bucky Irving earlier. Kenneth Gainwell going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is Bucky Irving a loser?
Slightly. I mean, he's not going to have a big role in the passing game, so I can't imagine they bring in Gainwell to not have somewhat of a role carrying the ball as well, coming off the year that he just had where he was so successful. So look, it's probably, if you're looking at the totality of what Bucky Irving went through last year versus what he's looking at this year, he loses the guy who was taking him off the field for goal line touches in Sean Tucker being gone. So he maybe gets that role back, which will help. But now the upside of what he was as a pass catcher, I'm going to guess, Zach Robinson's still going to throw to him on first and second down, given those chances. But in any up-tempo situation, in any third down situation, most likely Kenneth Gainwell is going to be on the field. So
Sure.
It's just one of those things where I think Bucky is lost a little bit because of the role in the passing game, gained slightly because of the touchdown potential, and hopefully the offense as a whole is just a little bit better. But I think just, if you're giving him a category, I think I'd put him in the loser category just because of Gainwell's presence.
How far do you think he falls on the running back rank list?
He won't fall far for me. I mean, at this point, if you tell me Kamara's gone,
Sure.
I'd rather have Etienne. I'd definitely rather have Walker. I might have had Bucky maybe a little bit too high, but he was like around 13 or 14 for me already. So
all right. And so now he's probably closer to 20 for you? And
no, probably like 16, 17, that range.
Right at 20 for me.
Okay. Like, I love that value because I know what his upside is too. And I don't think we should forget about those first 4 games where he was averaging, 22 and a half touches per game, 4.8 targets per game. I don't think we can expect 4.8 and 18 PPR points per game. And that's rich. If I can get that at RB20 in my draft, I'm going to take that chance if he's there. And that's going to end up being round 4-ish, maybe round 5, maybe if we're lucky.
Do the Cardinals have a new quarterback now?
Cardinals have their quarterback.
Gardner Minshew. We'll see. Not one you can say, oh, he's going to start 17 games for them. That's for sure. No. Here's the thing about Bucky Irving. He has 77 catches in 2 seasons in his career. 5 of them have come on third down. So really,
that's
he
good.
could have a nice season if he just gets the first and second down targets. Now, Jamie, you mentioned the 2-minute drill. 8 of his catches last year alone did come in the 2-minute drill. So that is something that I think Gainwell could hurt him.
Yes.
I got a question for you to ponder here as we go to break. How surprised would you be if, based on the rosters right now, if Jaylen Warren outscored Bucky Irving? You tell me when we come back on Fantasy Football Today. We'll be right back.
This is why we do this every March.
Major slam!
It is a basketball party.
It's March! Expect the unexpected!
Heath, going to surprise you with this one here. How surprised would you be if Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell now in the Bucs, outscored Bucky Irving next year in PPR.
I would not be surprised.
Jamie, how surprised? I'm not going to do it again. How surprised would you be, Jamie?
If Warren is better than Bucky Irving,
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
Dave?
I would also not be that surprised.
Should have done the surprise meter. It's too late now. Can't
My
do it.
face would not freeze.
Okay, let's pick up the scraps here. So, news and notes: the Dolphins signed Malik Willis, 3 years, $67.5 million, with $45 million guaranteed. Willis was sensational in the 2 games where he actually got extended playing time for the Green Bay Packers. Okay, you said he'd be drafted in a 1-quarterback league. Is he going to be in the top 12 for anybody, Malik Willis?
Just outside.
I had him 13 in my first run of projections. I'd say he'll be somewhere between that and 15.
Who are you taking Willis over?
Goff? Would you take him over Goff?
I would take him over Goff. I would take him over Purdy right now.
Baker.
Baker.
Okay.
It's interesting to take him over Purdy when Purdy just got Mike Evans.
Well, I mean, Purdy also doesn't have everybody else along with Mike Evans. So
I'd still go Purdy.
if Trent Williams leaves too, forget it.
That's fair.
Okay.
I think it all comes down to if he's probably going to be the quarterback that – remember how some of us talked about Justin Fields last year, that nobody has his kind of upside when he's on his game, and you can get him in the double-digit rounds, and can't call a guy like that a bust if he doesn't end up doing well because you're taking him with such a late-round pick. I think Willis – I don't think he's the same type of player as Justin Fields. I think he can actually read a coverage. But I think that he's in that type of description for fantasy where the downside is who gives a damn? It's round 10. You're shooting for upside anyway. And he could end up being a top 5 quarterback in fantasy if everything breaks right.
I'll tell you this much. Right now, I'm taking him over Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Oh, wow. But, he's barely played.
His knees work as far as I know.
Well, Mahomes' knees are going to work, all right.
I think fantasy drafts this year will be so rich in late round quarterback value.
Oh, I mean, you say that every year.
Yeah, but this year it feels even more. And people are going to be able to just sit back and wait. And they might even take 2 of these guys. And I think Willis will be one of the first names that they take. So, no, I would not be surprised if Willis went ahead of Mahomes. As silly as that sounds.
No, I get it. The Ravens re-signed Tyler Huntley. The Cardinals signed Gardner Minshew. That just happened, or they're going to sign Gardner Minshew. Should we react to that, or should we wait and see what else they do?
Jacoby Brissett's still there.
The Raiders released Geno Smith. Also, their preference apparently is, according to multiple reports, is to not start Fernando Mendoza immediately. So we'll see which. By the way, they upgraded an offensive line big time. We'll get to that. We'll see which veteran quarterback the Raiders land with. Yeah, maybe. Washington re-signed Marcus Mariota. All right, at running back, the Saints signed Travis Etienne to a 4-year, $52 million deal. They also restructured Alvin Kamara's contract. And I have to sneeze. Heath, what do you think about Kellen Moore and the target volume for running backs, which you highlighted so appropriately last year?
Yeah, it was very low for the Saints last year. Historically speaking, when a new running back gets to Kellen Moore or Kellen Moore gets to them, depending on which direction the movement's happening, they see about a 20% decrease in their targets per game. That happened with all those running backs who have been good, were less involved in the passing game than they were before he got there. So I think that the key for me with Etienne is Kamara gone. If they're just going to eat the money and they're able to get out, let him go, then Etienne is a top 18 running back who's probably taken in round 3. If they're not, then he's probably a round 4 pick.
I think they got him to restructure, right?
He did restructure.
But they said the restructure made it easier if he wasn't on the team this year. Right.
I think right now they'd have to eat $3 million, if I'm not mistaken. So
they already ate most of it?
Gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, ideally, you send him to a team. I mean, maybe he goes to Jacksonville. Who knows? But you send him to a team where there's an opportunity for him to at least start. Minnesota makes a lot of sense. Bones being gone and pairing him with Jordan Mason. Trying to think anywhere else that there's like an opening besides Jacksonville.
Okay. That's Travis Etienne going to the Saints.
I thought Denver would have made some sense, just reuniting him with Sean Payton, but they brought back Dobbs.
Yep. Ken Walker to the Chiefs, 3 years, $43 million with 28.7 guaranteed. If you want to hear about that, we did a 10 to 12 minute bonus podcast earlier today. That's FFT Express. You can see it in this feed. The Broncos signed J.K. Dobbins. Sorry, I should absolutely mention R.J. Harvey as a loser.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, but the way it felt a week ago, this feels like we maybe got off easy on RJ Harvey. Like we knew he was going to share, and now he's sharing with somebody who has a hard time staying healthy. So maybe he ends up in a situation where they have to give him more of the work again.
Would you be shocked if it's over, or if it's not over, I should say, and they add another running back on top of this?
No, I expect they will, but it's
So
just
Kamara goes there still.
Could.
Yeah, maybe.
In the first 10 games of the season, J.K. Dobbins, that's all he played was 10 games. He had 153 carries. R.J. Harvey had 50. J.K. Dobbins was the number 22 running back per game in non-PPR, number 25 in half, number 27 in full PPR. His 17-game pace was 260 carries, 1,300 yards, 1,312, and 7 touchdowns. So low touchdown rate there, and only 19 catches for 63 yards. But he averaged 5 yards per carry. And the year before that, he was the number 18 running back per game, but he did have 32 catches in 13 games. So he's capable of catching the ball more. It's just it was really weird because the Broncos were 7th in those 10 games. They were 7th in running back targets per game on first and second down. And yet J.K. Dobbins averaged about 1 catch per game.
Was that the Tyler Bidet experience?
Maybe it was almost like when he was on the field, they were just not going to throw it to him.
Right.
So, low upside guy, but it's definitely in play. And is he the first? Who are you taking first, Harvey or Dobbins?
Harvey.
Okay. What else we got at running back? The Bucs signed Kenneth Gainwell. So is Gainwell a top 100 player for you?
PPR, yeah.
Yep.
All right. The Cardinals. Oh, this is a big one too. I knew I was going to forget some. The Cardinals, they restructured James Conner's contract, but today they signed Tyler Algier to a 2-year deal worth $12.25 million. Dave, what's your take on the Cardinals backfield now with Algier and Conner there?
It's a mess, and they've reloaded, and this is the trio that they're going to go with. I think it's a clear sign that they're not ready to hand things over to Trey Benson. I don't know.
It's a duo.
What do you mean?
I don't think Benson's going to be involved unless
you don't think he's, and he might. So I think you're right. It's probably going to end up being more of a duo than a trio. We'll probably pick Conner ahead of Algier, and Algier will be a late round pick. But I'm not real excited about any of these guys.
Nope.
What a bummer.
It's a bummer.
And the Texans released Joe Mixon. The Giants restructured Devin Singletary's contract. Wide receiver news: the Niners signed Mike Evans, 3-year deal, could be worth up to $60 million. Colts re-signed Alec Pierce, 4 years, $116 million. Any numbers here? They're just on paper. They're not necessarily real in terms of what's guaranteed. If a guy gets cut after a certain amount of years, football contracts are weird like that. Steelers acquired Michael Pittman.
Not Pierce's.
It's all guaranteed.
He got $60 million signing and 84 guaranteed.
Okay, but that's not 116 guaranteed. So Pittman is going to the Steelers. They got a 3-year deal worth $60 million, $59 million. 4 years, $78 million with $38 million guaranteed for Wan'Dale Robinson. Jalen Naylor to the Raiders. Traylon Burks back with the Commanders. And the Falcons signed Jahan Dotson and Olamide Zaccheaus. And they signed Austin Hooper. So they've added to their receiving room without threatening London and Kyle Pitts, basically.
They are loading up on players that we can't stand because they score touchdowns and we never start them.
So Hooper is a little concerning just because he's got a relationship with Stefanski. Stefanski's first tight end of note was Austin Hooper. And so I think of his 6 years there in Cleveland, 2 of those years, Hooper was either first or second on the team in targets.
Yeah.
He was there 6 years.
Here's a question from the Hoff. Does Caleb Johnson get a boost with Gainwell gone?
No.
Yes. I'm going to say he's going to at least get the opportunity to get a boost. They've never really shown that they will give Jaylen Warren a true lead back workload.
Yeah, but
So
their skill sets are so different.
yeah, but he could get, but Gainwell was getting some carries. Like he could get the 6 carries or something like that a game. We got an opportunity, maybe,
Sure. I guess he gets a boost in theory.
from 0. It's a boost. Let's see, a tight end. We got Isaiah Likely to the Giants, 3 years, $40 million. Travis Kelce back with the Chiefs. Heath, who do you like better, Kelce or Likely?
Likely.
Dave, Kelce or Likely?
I think Kelce.
Jamie.
Well, considering we answered this already, I'd say Likely.
Tennessee signed Daniel Bellinger. The Chargers signed former Baltimore tight end Charlie Kohler. 3 years, $24.3 million with $17 million guaranteed. Tight ends get big contracts. The Vikings adjusted TJ Hawkinson's contract. The Bucks re-signed Cade Otton to a 3-year deal. The Falcons signed Austin Hooper. The Rams signed Tyler Higbee. So he was considering retirement. Signed a 2-year, $8 million deal. He played about 55% of this. Tyler Higbee here played about 55% of the snaps most weeks before his week 11 injury. And then that's when Colby Parkinson's snaps started jumping. And in week 14, Terrence Ferguson's snaps started jumping. So, Heath, are there any Rams tight ends that you think should be in the top 20 in the rankings?
Probably not.
Yeah, bummer. And Houston signed Dalton Schultz to a 1-year extension for $12.6 million. Now, Dave, offensive line stuff. We got Linderbaum to the Raiders, former Ravens center, maybe the top player on the market. We got the Bears trading for center Garrett Bradbury after their center Drew Dahlman retired. Trent Williams could be on the move. The Lions released Taylor Decker. There's been other moves.
Cade Mays.
They signed a center, Cade Mays, former Panthers center. There's been
What if
other
the Raiders
stuff.
traded for Trent Williams?
Oh, that'd be fun.
Just all of a sudden have a good line.
Or they signed Decker.
The Browns have made a couple of additions. The Jets made one. All right. Anyway, Dave, anything really jump out? Any fantasy earth shakers?
From the offensive line category?
Yeah.
I mean, Linderbaum going to Las Vegas is great on 2 fronts. Number one, he's going to help the interior on those runs for Ashton Genty. And number 2, he's going to help Fernando Mendoza settle in and help him out with, identifying coverages and, who's the mic and all that stuff. I think that's huge for their rookie quarterback's development. It's a smart move by the Raiders to get him in there and to pay him what they're paying him. They had to do it to get him, but I think it's good for them.
All right, we'll keep an eye on this, see if any teams get significantly better or significantly worse on the offensive line. Like the Bills could have lost 2 players on the interior of their line. They only lost 1. They re-signed Connor McGovern. They lost David Edwards to the Saints. And it's good for the Saints. Like the Saints have to be aggressive because that's one thing for Etienne. I mean, he's going to a team that had a terrible offensive line last year, but they go out and they get guard David Edwards, 4 years, $61 million. The Jets are really making a lot of moves. They're spending a lot of money. What did the Jets do? They lost one of their linemen. I guess most of their stuff's been on defense. The Jets, they traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick from the Dolphins. They gave him a 3-year, $40 million deal. They signed an edge rusher from the Packers. They signed an edge rusher from the Bengals. They're signing a defensive tackle from the Falcons. So that's on defense. Jamie, how about Max Crosby going to Baltimore? What do you think about that?
I think it's a great move by Baltimore to try to increase their pass rush and obviously give Jesse Minter a little bit of a head start. Their pass rush was a problem last year. It seems a slight overpay for a 29-year-old player, but still, he's been very productive, one of the best pass rushers in the league. And now I saw a graphic that, Joe Burrow's got to face Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and Max Crosby 6 times, which isn't ideal, but he'll be okay. They actually gave him his entire starting offensive line back for the first time since they went to the Super Bowl, so that's encouraging. Yeah, I mean, it makes the Ravens DST one of the best in football.
And they gave up 2 first-round picks for him, including, I think, the 14th pick this year.
That's right.
Anything else, guys? I don't want to read all the defensive news. Heath, go ahead.
No, I mean, just in the opposite vein of the Ravens, the Chiefs lost their secondary.
They sure did.
Cook gone, Watson gone, Duffy gone. I don't know. Maybe there's more shootouts for the Chiefs this year.
There's only one guy you need. Spags. You're good.
Yeah.
Well,
And they added Tonga on the D line and in the fullback room.
and another team that lost some defensive backs was the Bills. They traded cornerback Teron Johnson. They released safety Taylor Rapp. They also released Dane Jackson, but he only played 3 defensive snaps last year.
Who didn't they sign somebody? Alford? Is that who they got?
Man, I don't know. I must have missed it. I
They
thought
got
I was
D.
on-
Alford. Not that he's like, it's not earth shattering to have D. Alford as your nickel, but that's who's probably going to end up replacing Johnson.
I do think things got significantly easier for Justin Herbert with not seeing Crosby twice a year and the Chiefs secondary getting so much worse. Like their matchups and the Broncos defense might be a little worse.
Denver didn't.
You also, if there was any concern, you also are getting Mike McDaniel not putting his imprint on that team by the Alec Ingold signing because he was with him in Miami. Dolphins release him. He goes straight to the Chargers.
Chargers also signed a center, former Commanders center and Cowboys center, Tyler Badass. Should be his name, but it's Biotish. 3-year, $30 million deal. How about the Panthers? The Panthers with getting Jalen Phillips. I'm a big Jalen Phillips. 4-year, $120 million deal, $80 million guaranteed. He's an edge rusher, but he's not really he doesn't put up big sack numbers. He's great against the run, and he was big for the Eagles. The Eagles traded for him mid-season from the Dolphins, and he was really good for them. And the Bears signing Kobe Bryant from the Seahawks was big. They also signed Devin Bush, former linebacker for the Browns. All right, the Titans went nuts today. They signed a lot of guys. Headline.
Did you say you didn't want to go through all the defensive?
Yeah, well, I'm not. There's a lot more. Just don't want to shortchange anything here. Okay, I think we're good. Good show. More to come later this week. Juwan Jennings, Tyreek Hill,
hell yeah,
etc. A lot of still quarterback news going to shake out.
Jamie, when are we drafting?
Probably next week.
I feel like I'm going to get Mike Evans in every league now.
Good. He can be your Tyreek Hill. We just need to figure out who your Isaiah Pacheco is.
My Isaiah
Tony Pollard. He loves Tony Pollard.
No, I don't love Tony Pollard. Even though I said I did, it was a big lie.
You big Valentine.
Yeah, I had one I was embarrassed. I only have one Valentine.
All right, I gotta go. See you guys.
See ya.
All right, later, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow at some point on Fantasy Football Today.